What's up, guys? It's Logan here. I am with the first person voted out of Survivor LU Genesis, David Stewart. David, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. Good to be here.
Heck yeah, sweet. So we saw David be the first person voted out. David, I would love for you to just dive right in and kind of tell me where you think things went wrong for you in that first week of Survivor LU.
Yeah, obviously for me, the communication process wasn't probably as good as it should have been on my end. I had a lot of people texting me through different means of communication, group me, text me, whatever the case may be, to
Hmm.
meet up and to do some different things. And, with my schedule being what it is, I couldn't come to a lot of those different things and couldn't
Yeah.
meet those requirements with those people, which I think created a disconnect. So, I mean, people didn't really know me, know what I was about, or kind of like, know who I was as a person
Yeah.
or as a player in the game. So I think, that probably didn't help with the first week when you kind of like don't really know who to vote out. Probably the
Hmm.
person who communicates the least and connects the least was me. And that's why I was voted out.
Yeah. Do you think your tribe made a mistake by taking you out that early?
I mean, yeah, obviously, I would have liked to stay in, so I'm gonna say yes to that question. But I can't blame them for what they did just based looking
Yeah.
back on it, a while later. I can't blame them for what they did based on how, the circumstances went down. But yeah, I mean, of course I'm gonna, think it was a mistake.
For sure. So we saw in the episode that Ben was your initial target. What made Ben the first target that you kind of perceived in your mind, who you wanted to really push everyone towards?
Well, I could kind of tell that he took the initial clue that was, an opportunity that you could take or you could pass on.
Yeah.
So I thought that I could convince people that he took the clue enough where he could be the target. And I think it was working in the beginning. Um, but then me not communicating as well as I should have, it probably collapsed later in the week towards voting.
Yeah.
But I think the plan might have worked if I carried it out more strategically and more strong from the start of it.
Yeah. Speaking of that initial knowledge twist, we know that you took that. We didn't see what you did with it, if anything. So could you tell the viewers kind of what your plan was to do if you knew what to do with that knowledge twist?
Yeah, so I actually had never watched the show before, so I didn't have a lot of understanding on what that would be.
Yeah.
And then I learned later, it's an idol, and then obviously you can use that, and you can't be voted out if you play that on when they vote at the council. So I had gotten that and was kind of just confused and figured, oh, it's no big deal, and just kind of didn't do anything with it. If I had maybe had more of an understanding of it and what it could have been,
Hmm.
it may have probably played, to my benefit in the game a little more than obviously it did.
Definitely. And we saw in the episode that you really gravitated towards Megan and Addie Grace. What was about those two that really you thought like, hey, I could be in alliance with them. I could work with them long term.
Well, they both knew the game really well. So I figured for me, who's never watched the game before, I needed to get with people who had watched it before.
Yeah.
Um, and Megan and Addie Grace were just like very nice and like people that I felt like I wanted to be around.
Hmm.
Luke too. I had talked to Luke a little bit, but he's a person that I
Yeah.
didn't really follow up with as much, which I probably should have looking back. But I just wanted to be with people who I thought would be, for one, easy to work with just in the grand scheme of things, and then for two,
Yeah.
that knew the game well, so that I could, have people working with me that had a knowledge of the game.
All right. So we saw in the episode, David, that Alexa really pushed this narrative that, hey, David doesn't know anything about the game of Survivor. We should take him out. Do you think that was flawed in her kind of logic in that sense? Or do you think that was justifiable?
Yeah, I think that's kind of stupid just because as somebody who doesn't know that much about the game, I probably could have been strung along for a little bit, as somebody that, I could work with people and then my number, like they could use me on their side for numbers in terms of
Yeah.
voting. So I think that is kind of flawed, but Alexa probably felt as if she might have been voted out because it looked like there was a little alliance forming there. So she might have said that, but I think probably in her head she was trying to protect herself, which if that's the case, that's not flawed because you have to do whatever you can
Yeah.
to get someone else voted out. But if that was just her pure intention, yeah, that would be kind of flawed to me because you'd want a floater to just kind of like have on your side for numbers purposes, I would think.
Happened right after the tribal council. What was going through your head, and kind of who did you think kind of stabbed you in the back, and who really controlled that vote?
Well, I was shocked because I had talked to people up until that day, just like, but not as much as I should have. So, like, I had talked
Yeah,
to Megan, I had talked to Addie Grace, even Nathan a little bit, and they had said I was fine. So, like, I just assumed I was fine.
yeah.
Um, Megan's probably the one the most because like we had talked the most and she assured me that we were going after Ben. So I just like kind of that's probably another reason that I didn't give as much effort the first week was because I kind of just thought like, oh yeah, it's just Ben's out. Like that's not
Hmm.
but he pushed the other side so I could see why it switched. But I would probably say Megan backstabbed me the most because like
Yeah,
we had talked about it pretty in depth. So like I was shocked, but I
yeah.
understand it.
All right, David. Now that we know that you're the first person voted out, I would love to see. Do you have any regrets about the game that you played, or kind of your just final thoughts on how everything went down?
Yeah, obviously, I wish I was a little more involved. Again, I didn't do a lot of the outside stuff that people do in terms of, getting together and meeting up and talking
Hmm.
and eating and whatever people would do in order to spend time together. So that would probably be my main regret because I think I have pretty good communication skills. So I could have, been able to stick around longer and create strong relationships and alliances.
Yeah.
So that would be my main regret. But I mean, it wasn't in there long, but overall, I enjoyed it while I was. And then, if I was to ever play again, I would just, make sure, I was more stern and more relationship oriented and, gaining trust from people early so that something like this wouldn't happen.
Awesome, Dave. Well, hey, thanks so much for sitting down with us today, kind of giving us a little peek into your game and what you played. Uh, Everybody can check the next episode of Survivor LU coming out this Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, to see who will be the second person voted out of Survivor LU Genesis.